Claudia Muehlenweg, founder of Holistic Vision and creator of the Naturally Clear Vision Method, always hated her glasses and has made it her mission to help others see clearly naturally, just as she's done. Claudia is a sought after international speaker and workshop leader. She focuses on finding the root cause of her clients' blurry vision instead of using symptomatic treatments like glasses, contacts, or surgery that can actually make their eyesight worse in the long term. Curious? I thought so. I'm Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and concerns, and I share what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset. Often about how to eat and how to move, so you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in the second and better half. Today's episode is brought to you by my 5-day flip. Just what can you do in 5 days? Well, plenty. Or just what can you undo in 5 days? Listen, if you're starting or restarting an exercise program, 5 days is enough to prove to yourself that yes, you can, and yes, you do have enough time. And you can start slowly with about 15 minutes of exercise every day. And for you, overachiever, exercising so much but seeing so little reward, in fact, just feeling more tired, this is also for you. And I know because I am you. And this is how I stumbled on accidentally the After 50 fitness formula for women. So if you're not getting results from more exercise, try less for 5 days. Listen, you can always go back to what's not working now. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, and that'll be flipping50.com/5, the number day flip. And I'll see you on the inside. Let's get going. Today's episode, I think you're going to love. Claudia, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
My audience is going to love this. I'm going to love this. Actually, we're just going to let them listen over our shoulders while I'm talking to you about how to improve my vision. What I want to do, though, first is, of course, everybody often in our space in health or wellness, and certainly in the functional health, wellness, coaching, medicine space, has their own story. It's kind of how they got to it, what the meaning for them was before it became a meaningful way to express their purpose. So tell us a little bit about your story.
You totally hit it on the nail because, of course, I had vision problems. And they started really early, basically from birth on. I had what's called a convergent squint. My right eye was turning in, and I was extremely farsighted. So I got my first pair of glasses at age 3. And like any kid, I hated the glasses. And it got really bad when I entered school because I'm old. And back in the day, in the 60s, when I was in school, nobody wore glasses. None of the kids had. Only one other boy, and he was like the super smart kid, the professor, And I was not a smart kid. So I got teased and bullied, and I was so miserable. I was determined. And, they fogged up, and I broke them once, and then my mom taped them because we didn't have the money for new glasses. So I was determined to get rid of them. And I did. I was able to get rid of them at age 15. And then shortly thereafter, my vision got really blurry during my high school exams. I had to study so much, and my vision got blurry. And I was horrified of being back in glasses because boys told me you have pretty eyes. And before I was always, the 4-eyed girl, I was always teased. And so I found this book on this natural vision improvement book. And I followed the advice, and my vision cleared up right away. And I was able to be out of glasses for quite a while. And then I found myself back in glasses in my 30s, moved to America, challenging divorce, 2 little kids, ended up being a single mom. Long story short, I was like in my early 40s. And then I had this epiphany one day. I took my glasses off. I went to a party, and I got lost on the way home. And I took my glasses off, and my vision was so blurry. I really couldn't see a thing. And I realized every time I took them off, my vision was worse than it was before I put the glasses on. And I thought, like, Claudia, you've done this before. So I dug out that old book. I still had that book written in the 70s, and I did the practices, and eventually I found a teacher because I realized I can only get so far. Did found a teacher, and then eventually I wanted to make this my mission, and then did the whole teacher training, and that was like 12 years ago, and I haven't worn glasses since almost 20 years now.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you are giving me hope because I just want to put anyone else who's listening in this same moment that I remember. I remember being in my family. I was the baby, and all of my older siblings and both my parents wore glasses, and I was the only one who did not. And I was so proud of that. And then, and I would go through my 20s and then my 30s and then my 40s, and then boom, no longer. So in my early 50s, I know because I was living in Colorado. So that's when it happened. And I'm like, I did not want to join this club. I drag my feet, and yet I've got a whole batch of questions all prepared for you.
Great.
So let's talk. And I have wondered this, but LASIK surgery sounds too good to be true. And I remember on a golf course. So you meet the greatest people on a golf course. My son was golfing, I'm parenting and caddying, and we were playing with someone who was an eye doctor. And I don't want to classify him wrong and get that wrong or embarrass myself, but he was saying, I wouldn't do it. He said, I would instead get contacts so that you can be 100% where you want to be, but LASIK won't guarantee that. Talk to me about LASIK surgery and glasses and contacts for that matter.
So, oh my God, that's a long story. But let me start by saying that, and maybe I'm asking you too. Have you noticed that your vision varies a little bit throughout the day, or even different weeks, or you're on vacation, or you're on the computer a lot? Have you noticed that it's not exactly always the same?
Definitely. Definitely did. In fact, I was looking at houses 3 days ago, and my eyes were just like seeming to be playing tricks on me, and I couldn't figure out why.
So exactly. So most people that I ask would say, yes, I totally notice like it's better in the morning, or it's better when I'm on vacation, or when I've been out in nature, or whatever the situation is. And that is the case because our nervous system states vary, and our vision, when we're in that so-called sympathetic mode, the fight or flight mode, our pupils dilate, our peripheral vision shuts down, our vision gets worse. And when we're in the relaxed state, the parasympathetic state, our vision is better. And now imagine how many people are stressed out all the time. And when I ask them, like, when your vision tanked first, right? A lot of times I hear stories, like, doesn't matter if it was in childhood, in college years, or in your 40s or 50s, divorce. And that was my case too, divorce. So I just want to point that out because here's the thing with LASIK. LASIK is like a contact lens you can never remove. It's like a tattoo you can never change. Now, your diopters, which is basically the measurement of glasses or contacts, or LASIK as well, diopters only correct you for one distance. That's why most people, when they start wearing readers, eventually, their vision tanks, and they also need distance correction. And now you get these dreaded bifocals or progressives, or somebody short-sighted. It's the opposite. They initially just have single distance glasses, wear them all the time, but that diopter is for 20 feet distance and not for 2 feet when you sit at the computer, which is an extra strain. So basically, diopters correct you for one distance. And with LASIK, like if you are nearsighted, which means you can't see the distance clearly, they correct you for 20 feet distance. Now, knowing that your vision varies, maybe even a quarter or a half a diopter, like even within a day, now you got this thing engraved on your cornea that you can't change. And sooner or later, especially if you're nearsighted, those strong minus diopters that are measured for the distance, you will not be able to see clear up with them up close. When in the old days before LASIK, you were just able to take your glasses off or your contacts out and you could read totally fine. So now you need to put readers on top of the LASIK. You know what I mean? So I work with so many people that had LASIK because I think the longest I've ever heard where it lasted was like 12 years. But also two more things I want to say about LASIK. Dry eye syndrome, very common. A lot of people that had LASIK are on prescription eye drops and halos at night around lights. So a lot of people I hear they can't drive at night anymore. So it's not as, like you said, it's not, it's too good to be true. Exactly.
Mm, okay. Okay, but yes. So talk to me about so being outside, being in nature, better for us, but it's not about the physical effect on the eye. Is that true? It's more about our the relaxation effect that it has on us that then has an effect on the eye.
It's really both. First of all, green is a very relaxing color for the eyes.
Hmm.
The eyes are most relaxed, so let's put it that way. The ciliary muscle around the lens and all the extraocular muscles are at their relaxed state when we look in the distance. So the lens is flat. Again, the ciliary muscle is relaxed. So that's the relaxed state of the eyes. When you think of our prehistoric days, right, we were doing a lot more work in the distance on looking in the distance. And then, yes, we looked at our berries that we picked and the mushrooms we foraged. We kind of took a closer look, but we didn't spend hours and hours or the majority of the time looking at the near point. And nature gives us natural light, which is now also scientifically been proven to help prevent myopia, nearsightedness. And natural light is really, really important for good vision. The sunlight is, made to be this devil now, when in reality it's super important for healthy eyes. And there's always, exceptions. There's always certain diseases, and if your pupils don't constrict, right? I mean, but generally speaking, natural light is super important for our eye health. So that's why
Yeah.
nature is just great in general.
So tell me, is there a difference? I would think there's potentially a continuum. So if I'm in a room where I'm stuck in an office with no windows, no outdoor light exposure, there's that. But do I improve somewhat if I'm in a light, bright room with lots of natural light coming in?
Yes. So the natural light, first of all, it also helps our circadian rhythms. The melatonin production gets stopped so that we don't get tired. I always tell people, if you can somehow find another job or otherwise get
Mm.
up a lot, pretend you have a thing with your bladder and go outside as much as you can. But yeah, I think key piece is what I found with people that were just curious: natural daylight, and then also not wearing glasses or wearing the absolute weakest. For you mentioned you were farsighted, you started with readers. So wearing like the lowest, like maybe a +1, if you're like, say you're already in a +2.5 or whatever, wear the weakest thing that you can get away with without straining or squinting. That's absolutely key. And anything you can do without glasses, don't wear glasses.
Wow. Okay. So my grandma wouldn't have agreed with you, right?
Yeah.
Like, her advice would have been, use them. Don't do that. Okay, but I want to ask this. So given what you've said, given how we spend our lives, is vision decline unavoidable for us? And should we be worried about, a lot of us are proud owners of a millennial, I mean, what's going to happen to those millennials who've grown up looking at screens?
I do worry a lot, actually. And we have a myopia epidemic. And when you look at statistics, it was about 25% in the US and Europe and in Asia, right? And now in some countries in Asia, like Singapore, it's over 93% of youth and children are nearsighted. I mean, 93%. In the US, the numbers are in the 40% range, same in Europe. But we have a really rising, and COVID, and Zoom school really made it worse. So I am worried about those our millennials because they spend so much time. And I am on the computer all day long, but I have good ergonomics. My computer's at a window. I can look outside. I have good vision habits. You know what I mean? I know how to use the computer or the phone in a good way, in a healthy way. But yeah, I do worry about them because they're literally spending all day long looking at these devices. It's like crazy to me. So you're right. And also the screens are the other thing for the eyes. When you think about depth perception, when I would look at you in real life, right? I see you 3D, right? When I look at you on the screen, it's a fake 3D. It's actually a flat picture. So that is also straining on the eyes to have this kind of fake. You know what I mean? Like there's no real distance. The distance is the distance to the computer. When in reality, in real life. Do you know what I mean? Like there's all this depth that we have.
Yeah, well, I'm really good in candlelight, but okay. So, what about blue blockers? I mean, do you recommend those? Are those helpful?
Okay, that's you're asking me really good questions. So I am personally not a huge fan. That is a brand that I recommend and like because they also block EMFs and they don't have a big yellow tint. However, I usually use them like if I watch TV in the evening, if I because my TV doesn't have any software. What I have on my computers and my phone is a built-in software that blocks the blue light because computer and screens do have a lot of blue and green and they don't have the full range like the natural light does. But I do see, here's the thing. First of all, I hate things on my nose. I don't like glasses on my face. And they reflect ugly on Zoom calls and all this. The other thing is that I do want the natural light coming in because to keep me awake and keep me energized during the day. So that's why I prefer software. And then in the evening, or if you have devices that don't have blue blocking software abilities, that's when I use those blue blockers.
Okay, good to know from the expert. We just heard it. All right. So if we could just maybe have you, and I think this is probably going to ask you to repeat yourself a little bit, but so very helpful. Could you just give like a list of, what are the do's and the don'ts for our optimal eyesight, no matter who you are listening, no matter how much time you spend in front of a screen or if you wear glasses or contacts now or you don't, what would be a good here's the do's, here's the don'ts?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't have a list prepared, but I definitely have those. So, first of all, like a do is blink, 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 blink. Blinking keeps the eyes lubricated. It prevents staring. If you catch yourself squinting, raise your eyebrows instead. So open, like that's a traditional kind of compensation mechanism. And people can't see they squint. They try to make the light rays, as if you have like pinhole, like a little pinhole.
Mm-hmm.
So raise your eyebrows instead. Look into the distance frequently. Position your computer at a window, like I talked about, so that you can look in the distance. And then if you have light sensitivity, I haven't worn sunglasses in 20 years. I do wear them when I'm, like, say, skiing, which I haven't done in a long time. But unless you have certain conditions or your pupils don't constrict or you are in extreme conditions like skiing or something like that, we don't need sunglasses. Our eyes are fully capable. They are the organs of light perception. So if you are very light sensitive, that is directly connected to the so-called refractive errors like farsighted, nearsighted, astigmatism. You want to reduce your light sensitivity. What would be another do? Rest your eyes. Close your eyes a little bit more often. Just give them a little bit of a break. That's helpful. And yeah, look near and far. I already said that. I think that's kind of a good list to get started. Oh, one more thing I said earlier. Don't wear glasses if you don't need them. So if you can do a task safely, and obviously with driving, 20/40 is the legal limit. You don't even need 20/20 vision. However, if it's in your driver's license, you can't, you would have to get a clean driver's license. Let's say you're actually able to drive, you have better than 20/40 vision, but it's in your driver's license, you need to get that removed. But anything you can do safely without glasses, maybe there is a little bit of a blur, but let's say you're in your house, don't wear the glasses, accept a little bit of the blur because that alone will help you improve. And then lastly, I tell everybody, throw those progressives and bifocals away because they have a big problem by assuming that you look straight, you look in the distance, and that you look down and you're reading because they have, again, different diopter levels in different parts of the lens. But now you're at a computer and you look straight ahead, and that's 2 feet away and not 20 feet away. And now you're moving your chin up. I see that all the time where people move their chin up to look through the lower part of the lens. And all those postural habits are related to the creation of astigmatism and also neck tension. And you know that from your work, neck tension, postural issues that will make your vision worse long term.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to summarize this again because I think this is really a shocker to a lot of us. Like, don't wear sunglasses.
Yep.
And this, unfortunately, I can never let my son listen to this because this will be me losing an argument. He was a golfer, right, for years, college and high school, and would never wear glasses. And I kept telling him, wear glasses, wear glasses, wear glasses. And you're telling me I was wrong and he was right.
Yes, he was. Sorry.
This is going to be damaging to my motherhood, but okay. All right. Oh, such a great concept, and actually freeing. I mean, very freeing to get some of this information. What are things that I or listeners, will talk to them too, can do right now to improve their vision? Is there such a thing as eye exercises?
Yes, and by the way, I didn't do the don'ts, but obviously the don'ts would be the reversal of the do's, pretty much. But yeah, I hate the word eye exercises, but I know that's what everybody's looking for because, first of all, I would prefer to call them relax exercises. And it's
Mm,
really more about learning how to use your eyes in a relaxed and proper way again. And the bigger piece is our vision happens in the brain. 90% of our vision is like roughly, you can't, depends on the eyeball, but the eyeball, that's the problem with eye doctors. They always look at the eyeball as if that's where you actually see. You don't see it in the eyeball. You see in your visual cortex in the brain. That's where you interpret the light signals from the retina, right? To the optic nerve, they get transformed into what you see. And that's why we see things like, we say, like, I don't see the forest for the trees, because our perception is our perception. And, remember that argument with the dress that was like blue, black, or gold, white a few years ago?
mm.
Our perception is based on our experience, our memories of making assumptions. And so that's what we actually see. And so a lot of the work I do is really more about mental practices, using your imagination, improving your memory. And yes, it's healthy vision habits, like I talked about, the sunlight, the blinking, like practicing your strengthening a little bit your ciliary muscles so that your lens can look up close. So that there is some things that you could call exercises, but overall it's really more practices or relax exercises or just good habits really also, that people with good vision, they have these habits automatically. They don't think about them.
Hmm. Interesting. So you kind of bring me to thinking about some of the things we do with our community members. So, uh, like in terms of, mind body exercise, getting outside and just going for a walk may actually end up being not just supportive of decreasing your cortisol levels, but supportive of improving your eye health and yoga as well.
Exactly, exactly. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet, which is really big piece of what I teach too, is breath. So our brain needs the majority of our oxygen, and eyes are obviously part of the brain. At least the retina is part of the brain, and we do need proper breathing. I also teach yoga, so breathing is really important. And if you're doing that chest breathing, that stress-related chest breathing, you're not getting the proper amounts of oxygen into your brain. And the other piece I haven't mentioned yet is peripheral vision. So, especially if you wear glasses, our peripheral vision is as important as our central clear vision. Where the point that we focus on is the sharpest point that's seen in the fovea. It's that little pinhole, teeny tiny dot in your retina is the fovea. And that was something that blew my mind when I first learned it. Like if you look at one letter, you don't even see the next letter, even in small print, as clearly. So when you realize that our visual perfect clarity is a really tiny spot, and then everything next to it is the near periphery, the middle periphery, and then the very much the outer periphery, right? Like left and right, up and down. But a lot of people have this kind of tunnel vision, especially on screens or where you wear glasses, and there's an extra amount of strain on that central vision because the peripheral vision is basically turned off, so to speak. So that's great in nature too, because you have that peripheral awareness. Notice when you're driving, right? You might see the cars on the side, you see the movement. In the periphery, we only see movement in the outer periphery. We don't see colors, we can't see any details. So that's another really important aspect to improve.
Very cool. Okay, so I want to ask you this question because we haven't even touched on this, but what about in your process of healing yourself twice in your life and in working with other people in your program? How important is the food component, nutrition?
So food is super important. And I have to say that usually makes a bigger impact when you're older, because when you're younger, your body might be able to just, let's say take eating lots of kale might not have the same impact on a millennial, right? Or like my 20-year-old daughter, 25-year-old daughter, I have two daughters in their 20s. Obviously, it improves the overall health. So nutrition is a really key piece. Sugar, diabetes is the leading cause of blindness. So blood sugar imbalances are really a big issue. And when they tell you these, oh, now you're 60, it's, you have the cataract, but that's normal. No, oh, that's common, but that's not normal, right? Those are all the toxic exposure, all those things that kind of catch up with you. So in my main program, I don't really go too deep into nutrition. I bring on experts to talk about that, because as bonuses, because that could be its own program in itself. But it's a really big piece of what I do talk about and teach. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Makes total sense. All right. So you are the expert. I think I've hit on all of the potential questions that I have. So I'm going to ask you this one hardest question. So you should be sitting down. Everybody knows what's coming. All my listeners. Is there a question I should have asked you, Claudia?
Oh my God! You didn't prepare me for this.
I did not. No, we do this on
Uh,
purpose.
there's a question you should ask me is, um, should you, like, what happens when when you get your new glasses and they don't feel right, they feel too strong, and the doctor tells you, oh, no worries, you get used to that, just wait a couple of weeks.
Mm. Okay. That's my question.
Okay. So here's the thing. They actually found in animal studies that they put these lenses on animals, chickens and frogs and monkeys. And what happened was that when the animals got minus lenses, which is when you're nearsighted, and plus lenses is basically readers, the eyeballs grew long with the minus lenses and shorter with the plus lenses. And monkeys are not that different than humans. So basically, when your glasses feel too strong and your eye doctor tells you, oh, no worries, you get used to them, you will effectively affect the shape of your eyeball, and you will effectively make your vision worse. So I always want to tell my students or people that listen to me, empower yourself and say, no, you don't want those. And also, that's another question. Do you need to go get an eye exam every year? No. If your vision hasn't changed, you don't need to go to an eye exam every year, because they make their money with selling you glasses. And I see prescriptions, when people show me their prescriptions over the years, sometimes it's a quarter diopter here more or less, or there's a bit more astigmatism, or it's a little bit like peanuts. But then they charge you like, $500, $600, $700. So I really, really, really want you to know that that's not necessary. Getting an exam once in a while to make sure that your eyeball, your retina is healthy, right? The lens is healthy. That's important, but not to get new glasses if your old ones are working perfectly fine.
That was a brilliant question you just had me ask. Thank you. That was great, but you spurred another question, and this is really potentially out in left field, and it may go nowhere, but I have to ask because I know so many of our listeners and myself no longer, but we have pets. And so you mentioned human eye not all that different than an animal, or maybe more so the chimpanzee. But what about our dogs and or cats? But dogs, I know mine lost his sight. I mean, he was not, uh, you know, going in the right direction too much of the time. I, how much of that is normal and or, I mean, clearly he hasn't been staring at a screen. So what happened?
So that's a good question. I'm clearly not a veterinarian, but
Yeah.
what I do know, a lot of the commercial pet food is not necessarily really healthy. And I know people that feed their animals like higher quality or self-made food, or dogs, for instance, can eat lots of vegetables. I had a friend, her pit bull loved the kale stems, right? That was his favorite thing to eat. And dogs are omnivores, cats are carnivores. So dogs can actually eat a can even eat a vegan diet. But you want to feed them all the good nutrients. And obviously, what I had a friend whose dog went blind from cataracts, and I asked, did the dog get steroids? And she said, yeah, they had hip problems and the doctor gave them steroids. Well, steroids are very common, known to cause cataracts.
Mm.
So, so this is oftentimes, and then also if an animal is like really, really old, I mean, it could be a combination of so many things, like not clean water, other toxins, and maybe some animals are more predisposed to getting those eye diseases than other animals. But yeah, that would be my answer. It's also not really normal that they automatically get cataracts when they're like a certain age.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for going out in left field with me and answering that question. That was totally unfair to ask that one, I'm telling you. But where is the best place? Because I know you have probably piqued the curiosity of a lot of people who would love to kick glasses or readers to the curb. Where's the best place to connect with you?
I'm constantly working on new ways to connect with me. Right now, what I have a guide called 10 Habits for Healthy and Happy Eyes, and that you can download. And I think you're going to put the link underneath the episode, right? So do you want me to spell out the link?
And absolutely. We've got it below. And what I have is naturallyclearvision.com and /10, the number habits. And that will be in the show notes, everybody. So we're going to put show notes at flipping50.com /clear vision. And so you'll be able to connect. Also, we're going to put a couple of social media links down below for you as well. You've got a Facebook group and your Instagram are there. Claudia, thanks so much for being here.
And a YouTube channel. I have a really great YouTube channel that I want you to be on too, Deborah. You have to talk on my YouTube channel. I have a podcast. So yes, that's another one where you can find me.
So good. Fantastic. Claudia, thanks so much for such an eye-opening topic. See what I did there?
Yes, I know what you did.
And so, listeners, now it's up to you. If there was a question that you wish I would have asked Claudia, please come and visit the show notes, flipping50.com /clear vision. I love to hear from you, and we will make sure we get an answer to that question. Claudia will get it, see it, we'll refer it to her, and again, her connection information will be there. flipping50.com /clear vision. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.